Welcome back to the Panther Paw'dCast. I'm Emily Parks, Director of Communications for Midway ISD. And today we're diving into a really important topic. We're going to talk about our Facility Study Committee and the work that went into evaluating the needs of our schools and developing our 2025 bond package. I'm joined by two of our very own Midway staff members who served on that committee, Jason Fletcher from Midway High School and Amanda Chastain from Spring Valley Elementary. Welcome, y'all. I'm so glad to have y'all here.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so we got a professional development today. Y'all have had no kids for the day.
No students
now
today.
You get to come in and talk good, fun things.
That's right.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about what the committee studied, what y'all learned about our facilities, and why your voices as staff are so important in these conversations. So let's jump in. To start off, can each of you introduce yourself? Tell us your role at Midway and how long you've been there. Jason, let's start with you.
Cool. My name is Jason Fletcher. I teach AP and honors chemistry at the high school. I went to Baylor. I graduated in 2020 during COVID on Facebook Live, and then I started my teaching career. So I've been at the high school for 4 years. I didn't do all my years consecutively. I took some time off to get my master's, but I've been in the Waco, Baylor, Midway community since 2016. So
very good. Well, we're happy to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Amanda?
Hi, I'm Amanda Chastain. I'm third grade reading, language arts, and social studies teacher at Spring Valley. And this is my fourth year teaching. This is a second career for me, so I actually came on during COVID as well. But I switched careers and went into teaching during COVID. Did long-term subbing as well for Midway the year before, or the first year, and then have been here since. So, but we've been part of Midway. My kiddos have been with Midway since kindergarten. So long term, yeah.
Very good. Yeah. We're really excited to have you here. And I learned that this was your second career because you did a number of news media interviews for me during the legislative session, talking, as we were kind of looking at HB2 and what our funding was going to look like. And you were a really strong advocate and voice for your fellow staff and for our district there, so I appreciate that. No, and another shameless plug, you are my third grade daughter's teacher. So
I am. She's great.
You've done a fantastic job, according to her.
Thank you.
I have no complaints, so thank you for what both of you do. Y'all really do fill an important role, and some of the things that we know about Midway is we are we have a standard of excellence. We're rated very high. When you look at our numbers compared to other school districts in the state, we're top, and that's because of the work that y'all do. So I'd like to say thank y'all for that. And let's move on. Okay, so you both served on the Facility Study Committee. What motivated you to say yes when I reached out and was like, hey, do you want to sit on this 6-month committee and learn new things? Amanda, what motivated you to say yes?
I felt like I kind of had a unique voice since I did have several roles. I've got a sophomore, an 8th grader. We've been at Midway, for however many years that is, for kinder to 10th, and live in the area. And now I teach here as well. And so, my previous background prior to teaching was finance and operations.
Nice.
So I felt like that would hopefully be a helpful voice to the committee.
What about you, Jason?
Yeah. This might sound like a basic answer, but I think it's true. It's just the Midway community. There's something about the students and staff and parents and teachers that just make this place what it is. You mentioned the standard of excellence of Midway. And so I love my team, I love my students, and I wanted to join into something bigger than myself that's ensuring their success for the years to come. So. Yeah.
I wouldn't call that a basic answer.
No.
I really wouldn't because, and that's something that I've seen here in Midway. Like what other people see as basic, we see as, that's really, that's soul searching there to be that is part of you to want to be part of something bigger, and Midway is that bigger thing. So that's really good. I really enjoyed working with y'all on this. And so let's talk about a little bit about, what you learned, the things you discovered. The committee met over the course of 6 months. We went to different campuses. different places, and we talked about a lot of different things. So for staff who might not know, what exactly did you do over those 6 months? And I'll let either one of you chime in. Y'all,
what didn't we do?
Yeah.
We did a lot.
We did, yeah. We talked a lot. We looked at a lot of stats and reports, and I would say that we learned a lot.
Yes.
There's so much that I had no idea about school finance and capacity and growth and definitions and terms. And so it wasn't much of a, all right, ready, set, go. Let's decide this. It was very intentional and methodical.
Yes.
Agreeing, disagreeing.
Yes.
All the things.
I honestly, one of the things that I was most encouraged by on the first meeting and that I saw all through it was just the format and the very intentional planning of all of it. The graphic, the infographic at the beginning, we're starting really big. We're going to funnel down to get more detailed as we went on, because otherwise it would have absolutely been drinking out of a fire hose, so to speak, with the amount of information. So we started really big picture, big idea, trying to make sure that everybody that was part of the committee had equal footing and equal understanding, I would say, of all of the facts and information related to school finance and bonds and all the different statistics that we looked at. And then I love too that each time we met, we were at a different campus. We got to have a tour of different campuses, and it was very intentional as well. Which campuses we looked at and why we were looking at them, but there was always information for every single campus represented too.
Yeah. What were some of the most eye-opening things you learned about our facilities? Like think about it in terms of things that you wish that every staff member knew. If you could share a couple of those big takeaways.
The amount of capital and the way that you have to look at things, and again, I came from a finance background, so it's sad. It shouldn't have been shocking to me, but just the difference in how that works in a school setting, as far as the things that had extended out their usefulness life. I'm gonna mess my word up there, but prioritizing what things were immediate, what things needed to be looked at, and it was refreshing to see how many things were on that list. I mean, for the staff to know, it was an all-inclusive list, every campus, of all of the things that needed, from small to big, that needed updating. That was really good to see that all campuses were voiced and looked at.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things was just the understanding of the word capacity, and just what does that mean, functional capacity, and just where are we growing, what are our trends, what's the demographics, just all the things capacity wise. And so
capacity in terms of enrollment and how many warm bodies you can fit in a building,
and what space and where's the space, and what our needs are looking towards the future. And so
It was interesting because, even as a parent, or, if you're in your bubble of elementary versus secondary, knowing what classroom sizes are like, we know that, we see that, but then also helping to explain to other folks on the committee, there's a lot of wiggle room for some of that. And where we think certain campuses seem already so full, to see those numbers and go, oh my gosh, it could actually get even bigger, and you could fit more kids in, and you could do more. That was very eye-opening
for sure.
And I think something that was eye-opening, as a facilitator, and I got to really listen to what everyone said and all of the groups that y'all were a part of, is this idea that for example, Jason, you're at the high school, so you have, an intimate knowledge of what the high school needs, but you may not know what Spring Valley needs.
Correct,
But Amanda does, because Amanda's there every day.
Right.
And so for the committee to be able to look and realize that every campus had its own unique and individual needs. There are some campuses that are dealing with a lot more capital improvement needs, and other campuses that it wasn't capital improvement that they needed, but maybe new devices, or there's just a number of things. So I thought that was really eye-opening.
Yeah. And the support side of things too, because we also, it wasn't just the elementary schools, the middle schools, and the high school. It was also, our very, crucial and critical support staff too, and taking a look at what, their needs are, because I think that so often gets forgotten as far as, we always think about kids first and things, but there are so many components. The buses, heck, I learned about, I had no idea about travel buses and, the difference between what, school route buses are allowed to do versus, buses that are designated to only travel for events. That was, I had no idea.
Well, and that's an excellent segue. Like, were there moments when you were surprised by how our schools and how those support systems compare to one another? Like, for example, we talked about, one big thing that has come out of even, we'll talk more later about the actual bond package that's come out, but HVAC.
Oh my gosh.
Roofs.
Yeah.
We think about school, and I know in my head, when you say school or education, I think of a kid sitting at a desk with a pencil, writing something. But this committee really kind of opened up to, you got to think about air conditioners,
lighting.
Yes. Yeah. So talk about that. Were there the question, were there moments when you were surprised about how our schools compare to one another in those areas?
Absolutely.
100%. I think one of the, mentioning HVAC, the idea in just how schools are funded, and with just comparing HVAC to, how do we balance this budget as far as personnel wise, and what that relationship is. That was one of the introductory meetings where it's like, okay, 30,000 foot view, we're going to funnel this process down. You need to know these are the conversations that we have as administration and just the board, and just so grateful for how they have stewarded the resources and things like that too, because I would have had no idea about the relationship with HVAC to seats in a classroom to buses and things like that.
And where they're allowed to spend the money on that as well. Yeah.
But talk a little more about that, Amanda.
Well, yeah, just understanding that difference between, the INS versus the M&O, and having to understand, which until I started teaching and even until I was on this committee, as a taxpayer, I did not always understand that. And I feel like that's something that a lot of the voting population maybe doesn't understand fully, what school boards are allowed to spend those buckets of money on and what they're not allowed. I'll be the first to say, before I was here, I used to sit there and go, property tax raises and, rates going up, but gosh, can't they find money somewhere else, type thing. And it wasn't until, I got more information and learned this process a little bit better that I went, oh, it's not that cut and dry. Yeah. It's not that easy.
Correct. Yeah.
For various, state and federal law reasons. So,
and there's a lot of community priorities that go into that, and we talked a lot about that in this committee early on in the beginning. I remember, Dr. Allen telling y'all probably the very first meeting, this is not a meeting to design a bond package.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is a meeting to talk about our facilities, where they're at, and what we need. And if we come out the other side of this,
and we don't need anything, we don't need anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was really encouraged about that. So the committee was made up of parents, staff, community members, represented almost every group that we could think of, from our campuses to grade levels. What stood out to the two of you about how the community prioritized needs for students and staff?
Man, I just think overall, I was impressed with just the balance of the committee, and just encouraged to hear each of their hearts for the community. Yeah. I think that was the thing that stood out the most. I knew several from a distance. I might have known some proximally. I knew a handful of people personally, but then at the end of the process, just meeting several people and seeing each of them continue to show up and listen and share their 2 cents. Because it started with, hey, we want the best for our kids, and it ended with the best for our kids, I think. And so hearing that from everybody on the committee was huge.
And consistently too, absolutely. And it was, it was also refreshing, again, as a staff member and as a parent, to hear, consistently, not only do we want what's best for the kids, but we also, what makes things equitable, that makes it, so that way, our campuses clearly, we talked a couple times, if we had all the money in the world, would we do all these things, build these brand new campuses for everybody? Sure, but how can we be creative? How can we think about, prioritizing and trying to bring things up to par on the lighting, on the HVAC, on the classroom furniture, technology, whatever it was. It seemed like everybody was open to hearing those different suggestions and ideas. And it wasn't until, like we've said, the tail end that we started really, those last couple of meetings, that we started really trying to build that and put that package, what would financially make sense.
And y'all went back and forth. I know that last meeting, you almost came out with 3 different packages.
We did, yeah. But even then, at the end of the day, like even in that moment, it was like everybody was thinking what is best for the community and what is best for the students. And so I even think at that last meeting, like I left encouraged even.
Yeah.
So,
right.
And it was so, I love, that was one of my favorite parts. As a data nerd, that was one of my favorite part, because I kept sitting there going, how are they going to do this so that way it's not biased, right? Like it's so easy for us to be biased, ourselves as the campuses that we teach at, parents for the campuses their students go to. So I was really curious how this was going to be formatted to make sure that we really looked at things objectively and not subjectively. Yeah. And it was fascinating to me, the spreadsheets that we put together. So that way it was very mathematical. It was very, okay, if we've agreed as a committee that these are the things that are most pressing, we're going to stick to that. And these are the, let's rank it. Let's do it. It was,
look, there's nothing better than a color-coded
gosh.
weighted spreadsheet. Okay,
Yes.
so like I kind of enjoyed looking
I
at
did
it too.
too.
I'm right there with you. So, well, let's talk a little bit. We identified very early on the goals of the committee. One of the things that came out of it was protecting M&O funds, maintenance and operations, and how we can do that given the financial landscape that we're facing right now.
Yeah.
Now, something that, at the time, we didn't have any resolution on House Bill 2. We didn't have any resolution of funding and knowing what was coming. So how did y'all's discussions just through the committee connect the dots between how facility updates can protect the operating budget?
I mean, the thing that, at least at our tables, as we were talking, the more we realized very quickly, the more that we could try to offset and cover with the M&O side of things, the more that you could, free up and try to get things into this package that still, helped ease things, helped bring up that equity, that left so much more wiggle room for the district for things that that we selfishly as staff really need and need to help for us as well, but that they were limited with those buckets.
Yeah, and I think this might also sound obvious, but just learning that it's not just one bucket of money. It is 2. And so if we can alleviate some of the INS in order for M&O to have that wiggle room, that really does relieve pressure off of balancing budgets and thinking, like we've already mentioned, thinking things like HVAC and furniture and desk and technology needs. And so that is also one of the things I learned the most, which is how that balance works. So yeah, it's just.
And seeing too, just, kind of a little bit on the background of, hearing from some of the finance folks, like, hey, some of these things, we've got to replace them. Like there's no wiggle room for it. It's either a student safety issue, or things like that. Like it's going to have to be paid for one way or the other. So the question was, where could we put it that would hopefully help not tie the board's hand on other things, staff salaries, things like that, more staffing.
Right. I think the committee kind of settled on 3 air conditioners equals a teacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is what a statement.
Yes.
That is insane.
Because hey, if an air conditioner goes out, you have to fix
You have
it.
to.
You have to. I mean, are you going to teach her if your classroom is not air conditioned? No. And do you think your kids are going to learn?
No.
Right.
Not happily.
So you can fix that out of the M&O budget, where we pay for teachers or where we pay, for salaries and resources and supplies, or you can pay for it out of bond funds, which cannot be used on that other side. So that was I think a pretty eye-opening thing for a lot of you.
100%.
So why do you think it's important for staff voices to be part of these district-wide planning efforts?
I think it's huge just to voice your opinion. That shows that you see the stake that you have in the investment of kids, first of all. And I also just think it's just a general tool for life too, of learning how to assume the best, but also speaking freely. And just knowing that, whenever you do that, you are helping shape something that's bigger than yourself too. So I think it's huge.
Well, and as staff, we're in that unique position, right? Like kids can come home and they can tell their parents their experience during the day, but they may not have the whole picture.
Right.
They, you know what I mean? They don't, the air conditioning was, warm today. Maybe they don't know all the details about, what, they've been up there working on the air conditioner, y'all don't know that, but, being able, for me, it was really, it was good to be able to go around to my, fellow staff members on my campus, and when I'd see folks and just kind of say, hey, what's weighing you down, or what are the things that I can help bring back to the committee, and make sure that our voices are heard too, because aside from the students, we're there every single day, and plus some, and so we do have that kind of unique view of seeing both what the kids need,
both and
what's practical and what needs to happen.
Yeah.
What were some of those things that your fellow staff told you to bring back? I'm totally gonna
more adult bathrooms. I think every single campus, maybe except for the high school. You guys, y'all have a lot.
I think that was eye-opening to me, was seeing that some of the bathrooms are small because they are made for elementary students.
No, that I think after the third or fourth campus, they were like, yes, yet again, this campus is saying, additional staff bathrooms are very needed, and we're like, yep. Those were big. I felt like a lot of it too was updated furniture, hearing and seeing some of the furniture that we'd sit there and go, that was original to the 1980s building.
It's like, whoa, that's been a while.
So just some of those updates, that the lighting, that was a big one. Just seeing the lighting at some of the both the brand new campus and then the remodeled, the refurbished, brought up to speed campus. That was really eye-opening to see that, and then to go to some of the older campuses that you went, oh wow, this is a
here we go.
This is a big difference in what our kids are experiencing across the district, even for a district like ours,
right? Yeah. Well, and that again, we'll go back to the goals that you guys set at the beginning. That was one of them, is to bring that standard of equity closer to the middle, and trying we talk about how we close gaps with kids. Well, we
got to do the same.
We've got to do the same with facilities too.
Absolutely,
because it makes a difference, and that was something we heard a lot, both from I think the committee members and other staff members, is you want to feel proud of where you're working, and you don't want that to be, and where your kids are attending, and you want that to be something that everybody feels like they're getting the best of what they can. So
absolutely.
Right. Well, so speaking of staff, what advice would you give to other staff who may be asked to serve? And this is a completely self-serving question here, because I'm going to have to ask them, getting them to help them understand more about how decisions are made. Like, what would you tell them about taking part in groups like this, or committees that play toward a larger, big decision?
I do it.
It's worth it. This parent teacher talking here. It's a time commitment, but if it's the best way to have so many more voices heard, and isn't that what we want? We want to hear different opinions. Because we saw not everybody had the same priorities or had the same ideas. But if you don't speak up, if you don't put that voice in there, you run the risk of it not being heard. And likewise, you miss out on all this great education that you learn about the area that you work with.
It removes I wish I could have said something. I wish I would have done this. It's like, no, do it. and
Yeah.
join in and meet some friends along the way and realize that a lot of the things that you're thinking, probably the person next to you is thinking too. And so
That's true.
Yeah.
It helped to, and it did. That's a good point, because I think it helped to dispel, these preconceived notions that we sometimes keep. I think of like, that area, they always get everything, or they do that, and then you sit and talk and you realize everybody's looking for the same thing. They're all trying to do what's best. And so sometimes I think that's good for us too, to hear that and to know that we've got a lot more support as staff than sometimes we feel like we're getting. Yeah. So it was really refreshing to hear and see so many non-staff members on that committee, so supportive of our Midway staff. And that was great.
Huge. Yeah. It was awesome.
So y'all spent about 6 months working with your committee. Over 500 hours were put into, I love that data point. That's a lot of time. Were put into, coming up with a recommendation that y'all gave to the board. And the board took that and officially called an $83.5 million bond election with no tax rate increase.
Yeah.
As members of the committee, what would you? I'm gonna change our question up here.
Sure.
Now that the way that the conversation has gone, rather than what you would share about being involved in the process, what would you like to share about the importance of that package and the goals that were assigned to it? With the M&O and equity and student experience.
Yeah. I mean, go out. Educate yourself a little bit about it. Reach out to any of the committee members that were on it. There's a whole web page on MISD's website that has all of our meeting information and agendas and all of the data. This is a first step. We're trying to make improvements.
And I think the reality too that package is going to touch every single campus.
Yeah, that was big.
It was, that's some of the feedback that we've gotten already on the information we've put out is when you look at the chart that has all the campuses and the little
with the colors.
The color-coded dots.
Again, we love color-coded.
No, we do, right? That's what we're talking about here. Yeah. It's really great to see, even a campus like Park Hill, which was built within, the last 5 years, very recently. They're getting... And not even looking at it as a dollar amount, because we certainly don't ever want to reduce our kids to dollar amounts, but making sure like that campus is getting things that will serve generations of kids and
moving
teachers
forward. Absolutely.
And then you look at other campuses like your campus, Amanda,
Spring
Valley.
We have a lot on there.
Y'all do have a lot, not only in devices and technology and things like that, but then in capital improvements as well. Student experience at the high school.
Right, exactly.
Jason, you could probably speak a lot to just the way that facility is used and how those changes will really impact y'all.
Exactly. And just like another gym, and just the idea that like we will be able to get more kids involved in extracurriculars and that experience with fine arts and things like that. And it's huge and massive. So.
And I loved that we looked at as a committee at all of those pieces too. It wasn't just athletics. It wasn't just fine arts. It was buses. It was all the components and pieces that touch all those students. And like you said, will for years to come. So
Okay, so let's talk about being engaged in the process. What's next? What do people need to do now?
Vote. Just
get out and vote.
Not telling you what to vote, but go out and vote. And educate yourself and encourage others to do that too. Your family members that are in the area and could vote on this.
Yeah, and your district and your voice. And so just the idea that you can own part of this decision process and just be involved in it. So
excellent. Well, I'll throw out some facts for you here. October 6th is the deadline to register to vote for the election is November 4th. So if you're not registered, you can do that online at votetexas.org. Or I just sent out a bunch of voter registration cards to every single campus.
There we go.
Hey.
So we have them at the front
desk.
There you go. That's go by anyone's campus and get those. So get out and vote. I think that's just really showing up. Like you said,
don't take it for granted. Don't just assume one way or the other. If you feel strongly one way or the other, go out and make your voice heard.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, as Jason and Amanda have shared, the Facility Study Committee spent months and hours looking at data, touring campuses, discussing priorities. That work wrapped up this spring with their recommendation to the board and the $83.5 million bond package that is now out for voters to consider. And I'll say this, being on the committee was one way to be engaged, but as Jason and Amanda have both said, voting is another. Even if as a staff member, as a community member, as a parent, no matter what, if you couldn't serve on the committee, you can still play a role by learning about the facts and making your voice count at the polls. So the district has been sharing some factual information on our website, on our social media. You can find out what's included in the bond, what it means for the district budget, how to participate in the voting process. You can follow updates on Parent Square, social media, or you can visit midwayisdbond.org. That's our official bond website. All of the information is there. So Jason and Amanda, thank you all for giving us a behind the scenes look at what it was like to be part of this process. I enjoyed spending those 6 months with y'all.
Yes,
absolutely.
I know many of your colleagues did. Do you have any other comments before we sign off? Anything you'd like to say?
I think I'm good.
Yeah. Thank you.
We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
No, I hope the staff knows that
Yeah.
it was a big supportive process.
Yes.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, very good. Thank you for all the hard work. Like I said in every email that I sent out to you guys, the work you're doing here is so important, and thank you. So to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. As educators, your voice matters in shaping the future of Midway. This committee was one way for staff to be involved, but there's always opportunities to stay engaged and informed. Remember, the board has called an $83.5 million bond election for November 4th. Early voting runs October 20th through October 31st, and the last day to register to vote is
October 6th.
Good job. Good job. Y'all were listening. I like listening ears. We'll keep sharing updates. You can always find those on the district website, the bond website. So, again, thank you for listening, and we will see y'all on the next episode of the Panther Paw'dCast. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.